Hello everybody and welcome back to the final part, so part 4 of the Rokr Cruiser motorcycle step-by-step assembly. So this is how far we got since we started from part 1 to part 2 and to part 3. And if you have not seen any of them, make sure you go and check them out if you need to, and then come back to this last part. And this wasn't the only thing that we assembled in part 3. We did also assemble just a part of one of the exhausts. And just to let you know, this video will start on page 21 in the instructions and will end on page 28. And the one thing that I should probably do right now, before I complete the whole motorcycle, would be probably testing it to see if it runs. But you know what? I'm not gonna do it. I know some of you will definitely think that is silly, because if it doesn't work properly, I'm gonna have to dismantle quite a lot of parts again and see what is happening. But obviously, my head's a bit too big. I'm too confident, you see. I know it sounds very cocky, and I do hope that everything works, but we'll see by the end of this video. And just the last thing before we continue on this awesome build, I would also appreciate if you left a like down below for this video. That would be massively appreciated. And make sure you subscribe for more model videos like this one. And make sure, if you enjoy Rokr models, especially like these ones and the mechanical ones, because these are super cool, you can go onto their website. There's a link in my video description and the comment section, and make sure you use my promo code Martins15, and that will save you 15% on literally every single model that you fancy, which is absolutely awesome, I would say. Oh, little wee accident. And let's now begin. So I'm gonna start by popping the motorcycle to the side. I'm gonna leave this exhaust just here, and just to let you know, I have popped out, I always do it, I have popped out 14 steps right here. I do have another 2 steps on the side there that you can see. So I've got 14 steps popped out all together. Everything's been sanded, everything's ready to be put together. So here's our first step of this final part. So we take the previous exhaust from the part 3 video and we locate our 2 pieces. So we're gonna need this little guy and these 2 little pieces right here. This one is incredibly tiny, so it's not that easy to sand, but it's perfectly fine. So we got to make sure that we basically point these things, these 2 guys, towards you. Basically, you could do that, and then this goes on like that, literally like this. So let's squeeze it on. Just be gentle, of course. If you need a little hand, you can also use the tool. So I'm going to push this bendy part up a little bit. Hopefully that'll give me a little bit of leverage, because this leg has to go over this side, well, on that side basically. Let's see, and it should be exactly the same on the other side, yep. And just be very gentle. And there we go. As you can see, that piece is nicely in, very nice and flush. So it was actually a little bit fiddly. So I managed to pop in this right hand side first, and then I used my little wee tool to try and push all the other bits in. And I kind of had to lift this bendy part up slightly because it didn't want to go over this piece right there. So that's in now. Now we go onto these round pieces right here. So the bigger one goes at the bottom right here. Just be gentle when you try and push it on, yeah. There we go. So that's the actual exhaust, and that's quite smart, isn't it? There we go. That's very cool. So we can pop this first exhaust on the side, and we have to go and build another one. So it'll be kind of basically exactly the same, which is really nice because it's very straightforward. And by the way, I forgot to mention, guys, if I do go, of course I will be going a little bit faster than you are, you can always just press pause, you know, just make your life much easier. Okay, so once we push this long piece in, so it goes in a longer slit right there, slides in very easily. Then we go on to our next piece, so E27. You can't really mix them up because there's numbers right on them, which is very handy. So when you pop this piece in, the longer side, longer empty space has to stay at the top basically. And you keep pushing it in until it stops, basically. It's as simple as that. There we go. And as you're pushing in, make sure you keep this other guy in because it will slide out very easily. So as you can see, that's our first piece in. Then we move on to our next piece, which is right here. Again, longer slit stays at the top, and you literally keep pushing in till it stops. As you can see, it stopped here. Okay, and then onto our E26, and this bigger part will stay on the top. Again, just keep pushing in until it stops. There we go, it stopped. And onto our last piece now. And then we make sure that this longer, well, I'm going to talk about this bigger space, sorry, this only space that's here. Just keep it at the bottom, basically. And push it on. There we go. Literally just like that. And if they're not completely straight just now, that's okay, because once we start putting the cover on, basically, it will kind of straighten everything out and keep it into place. Then I bring in my next step right here, so I grab this and that will go at the front here, so the pieces basically won't be coming off easily. So just push it straight onto the open slit. There we go, give it a little wiggle and it'll just lock into place. See that? So it's much sturdier really, so it doesn't move. It does move a little bit, to be honest, but it's just a little bit. It's perfectly fine, you know. And we pop this guy simply on the top right here. There's a wee slit for it. And then when we come to this cross, we need to make sure that the cross basically, see that longer bit right here at the bottom? That points downwards basically, you see, and it just goes right on. It'll stay quite kind of near the end. Just be gentle, there we go. Yep, literally just like that, and it stays at the end. And then we go on to this bendy cover. So you just turn it literally just like this, and see when you pop this out, be very careful when you pop it out. Don't try and push on these bendy sides really. I'm gonna tell you why very quite soonish, to be honest, because I made that mistake myself. And don't forget to be super careful when you're sanding this. You have to be very gentle because it is quite a brittle piece. So hold your exhaust literally like this, and then when you look at this piece, this bit that's sticking out will have to go at the bottom basically, and it goes over like that. So the hole goes on here. Literally just like that. Just be gentle when you're pushing it on. So it did go on very easily, which is nice. And then gently bend it over, and it'll connect to the other piece right here. See where those two slits are? There we go, and you literally just try and push it on. There we go. And I've talked about these sort of bendy pieces before, where a lot of people find it quite difficult to deal with them because they don't really bend. And again, yes, I've heard people use steam to soften it, but I'm like, there is literally no need, because as you can see, my one's gone on, nothing's broken. You just have to be very careful. But if you do need it, I've never tried using steam. You could try it if you fancied. Maybe I should try it one day on a spare piece just to see if it helps. So as you can see, the cover is on. So I'm not so chuffed that there's quite a big gap, as you can see. Let's look at this one. So as you can see, the gap's a little bit smaller. I can kind of push it in, yeah. As you can see, the gap here is not too bad. On here, that is quite big. I wonder if I can push it on a bit deeper. I'm just a little bit scared because that means putting more pressure on it and it might break. Aha, there we go. Yeah, so I just had to give it a wiggle, and it kind of wiggled in a little bit more into place. So yeah, that looks a little bit better now. Absolutely awesome. And then we go on to our next step right here. So again, just like with the previous exhaust, we've got this piece that goes literally on like this. And then we've got the actual exhaust right here, these two pieces. So we do exactly the same thing that we did with this one right here. And there we go. As you can see, those pieces are in. And again, that bigger piece that went in first, it is a little bit fidgety. So as you're popping in, the top kind of has to be pushed up just slightly, and try and use a little wee tool to kind of push in the top a little bit, and then just work around it. It doesn't just go into place like really easily. So just be very careful, because you do have to kind of push on the sides a little bit of this, and then at the back of it. And yes, you don't want to break this cover, so be very careful. And now, because this exhaust has been completed, so this is our G2 piece, and this is our G1. So just remember it, not that you really have to remember it, because if you follow the instructions very nicely and easily, you will just notice that obviously one exhaust has really long bit at the end and the other one has got a very short one. And with the rest of the pieces from that step, we are going to assemble lights. So what you can do, rear lights, same thing really, lights are lights. So what you can do is go and split it in two parts, literally like that. It will just make your life much easier. So pick up this little guy right here. Be careful with these two pieces because they are very tiny and quite fragile. And I remember when I did this with the other lights, it actually wasn't that straightforward because these two pieces do not want to click into place properly. So what I'm going to do again is go and sand the middle part just slightly. So that's that one being sanded, and I did actually sand the sides of this piece right there as well. Let's see if that helps. Fingers crossed it will. I know I could use a little bit of wax, but there shouldn't be a need really. As you can see, it is going deeper. It's nearly there. So close. Giving it a little wiggle. I don't want to break it. Ah, come on, 1 more millimeter. Come on. There we go. And it has been put into place, and I can tell you that is definitely far too much work for such a tiny piece. Anyways, now we're on to the little round piece, which is right here. You could use a tool to push it in actually, because that is again quite stiff. Just be careful. Put your finger at the bottom of this piece right here. There we go. Yay! There we go. Definitely far too much work for such tiny lights. And then we pop this guy on, and then our actual light. There we go. So you can see on this piece we've got a pattern. So make sure that stays on the outside and just push it on. There we go. That's one of our lights completed, and you have to build another one. And here we go. That's our two lights completed. So let's put them on the side just for now, because we actually need to go and attach them. And we can also go ahead and attach the two exhausts. So what we're going to do is attach the lights, so that goes right on this hole at the back of that mudguard. And you do need to make sure that the actual pattern is facing towards the back and not towards the front. So literally just like that. Give it a little wee wiggle. There we go. Look at that. Looks absolutely awesome, to be honest. Really nice detail, you know. There we go. Now another little wiggle. Don't worry, I'm not pushing on this with my hand. I'm kind of holding it in place with my finger. And there we go. Look at that. That looks really nice. And now we start. So this is how I'm holding the bike. So this, I'm gonna, if you look from the back of it, this is the left hand side. So I'm gonna work on that first. So this is our G2. So that will go right on here. See the two holes right here. This is where it's going to attach. And I was going to say, make sure that the overhang at the back of the exhaust is kind of overhanging, but it's not like you can turn it the wrong way around and pop it in, because that's impossible, because there's nothing sticking out for you to pop in these holes, you see. And let's go and push it straight in. Again, be gentle when you're pushing on this, because that bendy part, is quite fragile. So a nice, slow, gentle wiggle. Very gentle. So that's one end in. Again, gentle wiggle. So it's going in very slowly, which is good. There we go. Look at that. That's one in. That looks absolutely awesome. And then when we go on to our other exhaust, so our G1, that will again pop in these two holes right here. And then this end, that will go right in here. See that hole? Let me grab a little screwdriver. See that hole right there? That's where that is going. So just make sure you pay attention to it. There we go. So I'm going to push the front in first, like put it into place. I'm not going to push it straight in just now. So I'm going to wiggle it in again. Just make sure you kind of wiggle each side slowly. Don't just force in one side first and then do the other, because that's a dangerous game, you see. And there we go. So that's the exhaust attached there at the back. And now we have to try and push it in right here. So I might need to use a little bit tool, to be honest, because I cannot put my fingers in there at all. Right, so I've figured it out. It's actually not that easy. I can't use a tool, to be honest, because it's really hard to get it in, and there's nowhere to kind of put force on it. So what I'm doing is I'm holding here, and then my thumb is right here. I'm kind of just wiggling it about, just gently. There we go, and it went into place really slowly. As you can see, nice and flush in there. So yeah, be very careful with that one, to be honest. And there we go, just look at this. Lights are in, both exhausts are in. Obviously we've got another piece here to go in, which we can actually put in right now, because I was going to say, that's the exhaust completed, it looks so awesome. But it's actually not. There we go, as simple as that. Yep, now both exhausts have been completed, and yeah, take a look at that. That looks absolutely awesome. Look at that side, that is really quite cool. So we'll pop this to the side and get on to our next step. So now, all that's really left to do is completing the seats and the chests. So the storage units, basically, however you want to call them. And that will be us. We'll give it a wee test and see if it works. So when we come to this step right here, so it's the beginning of the actual seats, what I would recommend you to do, which will make your life much easier, is to literally kind of line everything up. So don't put any pieces in just yet, just line everything up and then start the build. It makes life so much easier. Let me show you. And here we go. As you can see, this is exactly what I mean. So we got two sides, these longer ones. By the way, be careful with these. These do feel quite fragile. They are quite thin, so be extremely careful. So I would know, once everything's lined up like this, that I have to start basically from the top or the bottom. You can start wherever you want. So I'm going to start from the top, and I know this is my first piece. And the first thing I will tell you is pay attention to these end legs. So when this goes in, the leg has to point away from you, so up the way and not down. And make sure that the line, so basically the pattern on each piece is facing up the way. So when we start with this piece, again, make sure the leg is pointing up the way, so away from you. And you push it straight through, right to the middle, basically, like that. When we go on to this piece, again, pay extreme attention to this, because as you can see, this side right here is way longer than the other side. So pay attention and make sure the line is pointing towards you this time, because it kind of goes in on the side like that. Then when we go on to our next piece, so E7, again, the leg has to point up the way. And I keep talking about those legs because one of them is going to be pointing the other direction, sorry. On to our next piece, so E8, again, legs pointing up the way, so straight through. And as you can see, I'm popping all the pieces, by the way, in one of these longer pieces, and then I will try and pop this side on. I personally kind of find it easier. So when we go on to E9, there is no squintness at all in any of these legs. They are all straight, so that will just go straight in. Just pay attention to the line, make sure it's facing up, you know, it's just kind of nice to follow everything. So when we come to E10, see, this is different. There's bendy legs on both sides, squint legs, however you want to call them, angled legs, there you go. So this time it's not pointing up the way, it's pointing down the way, so towards you see, so you've got to pay attention to that. And pop it straight on, give it a little wiggle if it's too hard, and then we pick up this piece and we'll literally try and get everything through. Just be very gentle, of course. Got to be very, very gentle here. Okay, so far so good. There we go, give a little wiggle everywhere. Careful, careful, careful. Come on. Yes, there. Yeah, definitely a much better idea to put all those tiny pieces in first on one side and then wiggle on the other side. Look at that. That is magic. So yeah, there's quite a few bits to pay attention to. And then we've got this piece, so it doesn't matter which side goes on, and that will go right on that slit right here, just like that. It'll just kind of help keeping these sides into place, yeah. Now, there we go. Magic start. So now we move on to our next pieces, and let me tell you one quick thing about these pieces especially. So you've got to be extremely careful when you try and get them out, because what I didn't notice was that there was actually slits in these pieces right there, so they're actually bendy. And I just pushed on it because I tried to get it out. It's not like I used that much force, but this is what I ended up with. Yup, it broke extremely easily. Look at that, so imagine I pushed on it. Yeah, it's quite brittle and very thin, so be very, very careful. And luckily we've got a spare of each, which is super handy. And now when we go and pop these on the side right here, we've got to make sure that the thinner end is facing this way, so where this longer piece is basically. And we push it on, just be very gentle because it's a very brittle piece. So I'm going to start with the end right here, just be very, very gentle. As you can see, it kind of goes around it. See that? It kind of bends a little bit, so that's why you have to be very careful. And we do exactly the same thing on the other side. Again, extremely careful. Don't try and push on the actual bendy parts. Push on the ends, basically, where there is no bendy parts. Endy parts? Whatever that means. Endy parts. Jeez, oh, gonna have to add that to my dictionary, eh? And then we move on to this piece. So the two guys right here at the end will go at the back here and not to the front, and it doesn't even go to the front really. Nah, I'm sure you could try and squeeze in somehow, but that's definitely not the right way. So pushing the end first, be very, very careful. Bendy part again. See how I just kind of wiggled it in? Bend it a little bit more maybe. Yep, there we go. There we are, look at this. Look at that seat, that looks really quite nice. Lovely. On to our next piece is right here. So what you can do is you can leave all your D pieces to one side just for now, or you can do them first. It doesn't really make any difference. So altogether we're going to make 4 bits on this side and 2 bits on this side, and then everything is going to get attached to this. So first things first, again, make sure you just split everything up and line it up as it should be. And then we pick one of these guys, 2. As you can see, these are the thicker ones, shall I say, because when you look at these, yeah, it is thicker. So we've got a thinner piece and a thicker piece. So the thinner piece will go with these small guys, and the thicker ones will stay with this one right here. Okay, so when we start on one side, we need to make sure that that edge, the longer edge, stays kind of on the inside. As you can see, it's pointing that way, but the edge is going to stay on the other side basically. There we go, just push it straight in, just like that. Oh, that's not in fully. There we go, now it is. Yep, there we go. And we do exactly the same thing on the other side, but of course it's pointing the other direction. There we go. As you can see, this is what you got to get. And then we go back to our seats, and this one from the right hand side basically, that's pointing out and closer to you. As you can see, it's pointing this way closer to you, and the way to the right, that goes right here. Just be gentle. There we go, wiggle it in, and exactly the same on the other side. There we go, nice and gentle. There we go, nice and easy. And now we go to these two little guys right here. Again, make sure you kind of line it up before you put it all together. And there we go. So this is going to be facing literally like that. Just push it gently in. There we go, just like that. That's how it should look like. And then when you go on the other side, of course, it's going to look exactly the same, but the opposite basically. There we are, just like that. This is exactly what we need. And then these will go right here. Again, we grab the bike, and the right hand side one goes on here, because I can see what's going to happen here. Something bendy is going to come over here because we've got a leg here and we've got a leg right here. So something bendy is going to go over and click into place. So that is pretty quite smart, to be honest. And there we go. Nice. And then when we come to these guys right here, you can again split them up basically, and we got a nice R from the Rokr logo, which looks Pretty cool. So this is how it's going to go in. So the round piece first. See, when you hold it like this, remember this piece at the back right here, the right hand side extends way more than the left hand side. And when you pop this round piece on, you're going to notice that it's not going to go right in, as you can see. So this is how it has to stay. And again, patterns. These patterns will stay on the outside. So on the right hand side, if I look at it like this. Okay, now I'll just go on the top. And then the actual R, which will be facing like this, so towards the back. Give it a good wiggle. There we go. See that? That's how the R has to face. And it will be the opposite on the other side. The R I'm talking about. So when this round piece goes on now, as you can see, it's nearly reached the end. So there's quite the distance between the two. And again, wiggle that piece on. Nice and easy. And this time the R is facing this way. There we go. See how the R is facing that way? When you look at this side, it's facing the opposite direction basically. Excellent. And here we go. These are the bendy parts that will be going on. So let's start with the thinner ones first. Right here. So make sure they're going on the right way. So this is how they're supposed to go on as I'm holding them right now. So this goes on the right hand side. Just be very careful, of course. Start with the back. Oh, and yeah, the thinner side is obviously facing towards you if I'm facing it like this. Okay, there we go, nice and gentle. And then just bend it very slowly. Remember how I said there's definitely going to be something going on them, and yep, I was right. There we go, look at that. That looks really quite nice, doesn't it? And we do exactly the same on the other side. There we go. So it's quite straightforward. You just have to be very gentle. And there we go. Look at that. Nice. And then we go on to this guy right here. So the wider end is literally going on here. Okay. And just be gentle, of course, again. Try and push on one end first. Give it a little wiggle if necessary. I kind of feel like I should have put this on before I put the sides. You could do that. That might actually make your life slightly easier, to be honest, because I kind of have to move it out a little bit because it was in my way. Okay, there we go. Yep, there we go. That's one end in, and we do exactly the same on the other end. Just be very careful. Do not want to break this whatsoever. And there we go, look at that, that is in. And now we've got these two bendy pieces. So they are exactly the same, but you just have to make sure you put them in the right way. So one is B and one is A. So when I popped out all the pieces and sanded everything, I was like, just in case, I'm gonna mark it. You can tell which way the flames have to go from the instructions, so there's no way you can really mix it up. But I actually did mark one of the pieces just in case. As you can see, this is my B piece, and that will go right here on this side. So the flames are kind of going that way, they're being blown this way. And because it's going on this little leg right here and this leg right here, as you can see, that leg is the one that's bending up the way. So I'm gonna start from the back, you see, like that, and push it in, because if I put it in here, I'm gonna have to pull it up and kind of bend it over because it's kind of bent up the way, that leg, so it might be a little bit more complicated, you see. So this is how the flame's facing, as you can see. So the longer pointier end is facing towards the actual seat and not the back. And then we simply bend it a little bit and pop it on the other leg. Give it a little wiggle if need to be, as you can see. And when I look at it, as you can see, it's kind of squint a little bit. So kind of has to go over this bendy part. Hey, sorry, not over, under. I'm going to try and push it down a little bit, or push this up. I'm going to use a little screwdriver just to kind of pull it up a bit. There we go. See that? How it's straightened out, basically. That looks much better. Yep, so it has to go under this piece right here. And we do exactly the same thing on this side. And just remember, the flame has to face towards the actual seat. And here we go, as you can see the other side is in, so the back is tucked under this piece, which is awesome, and it's all straight, which is absolutely brilliant. It looks really nice already, doesn't it? Look at that. That looks really quite nice. So I'll pop this on the side and come on to our next pieces. So I've got my 6mm screws, which are B7, got my magnet for myself and my screwdriver. Makes life much easier. It's actually very quite cool, to be honest, because it keeps the screw on a screwdriver. Very handy. Right, so there are pieces that have patterns on them. So these two guys have patterns on them. So this will stay on this side. So this is how I'm holding it basically. So it's coming on here. Actually, we need to pop this little guy in first. Then this goes like that. So the pattern, oh, there's a bit of fluff. So the pattern will stay on this side, on the outside, not on the inside. And then when we go to this guy, that will literally click on the piece right here, but it's not going to go in fully, just to let you know. It will be sticking out like this. So just remember that. And then we go ahead and pop those 4 screws in, just like that. So we'll just hold it nice and tight in the space, and obviously do not over tighten them. You do not need to tighten them really at all, to be honest. See that? Nice gentle pressure and it's perfectly fine. There we go. See that? So that's how that goes. And yeah, you can see that this piece, the inner piece, is wiggling a little bit, but that is perfectly fine. And then again, remember, keep this pattern on the outside. So this will click on here. Just like that, just be very gentle. Push it right in. Yeah, be careful, you don't want to break off this leg. Let's see if I used a little tool. Will that help? Yeah, there we go. See how I'm putting a tool in like that, and then I'm pushing on this little piece and it went right in, which is exactly what we need. And just pay attention to this piece right here. See how it looks like a dog's head, basically, like half a dog's head. So make sure that this is how that goes on, because it's got a flat bottom. 1 second. So once I pop this guy on, I'm going to show you that. See now how it's got a flat bottom right there. So make sure that goes at the bottom of the dog's head, I'm going to say. See that? That's the top of the head right there. And then the actual light and the pattern stays on the outside, just like that. And then we go to the back of the bike, and this piece that doesn't have pattern will be facing this way basically. So this clicks into place like that. First, we don't put the light in first, we put this in first. So we should go in a bit deeper, nice and flush. Yep, there we go. It's got to be nice and flush here. And then the light, and make sure the cut off bottom stays at the bottom. There we go. And just push it straight in. There we go. Look at that. So it looks actually a little bit squint. There we go, that's a bit better. Yeah, so I just had to twist it a little bit. That looks absolutely awesome. And we've only got 4 steps left before it's completed. Amazing. Right, so now we go onto the bike and we've got to install this whole thing. So let's lift it up. So the first thing we need to do is see these 2 legs. They have to go in here first. So let's do that, and then we'll lower the whole thing after. So just be gentle, obviously, give it a good wiggle. There we go, that went in extremely easily, to be honest. And then see when we lower it, there's a hole right there. So the next pieces, which are these, this guy is going to go through it to hold it into place. So be very careful when you do it, to be honest. Oh wow, yeah, that went through extremely easy, which is very satisfying, so that was very nice. It's not come out through the end yet. Ah, there we go, nice. That was extremely easy. And then we've got these 2 guys, so this is how it's going on. See that? So push it straight on. There we go, so that's how it looks like on that side. And then the other piece, which I have lost, nope, it's right here. It's going on like this. So hold the other side and push it straight on, literally just like that. And there we go. That's the seats and the petrol tank attached. And that looks absolutely awesome. So now all that's left to do is literally So this is our next step. We need to build our storage units, boxes, however you want to call them, and basically attach them, and that is us. So when we come to these pieces, again, I have mentioned this plenty of times by now, make sure you split everything in half because we need 2 storage units. And here we go. This is what I'm talking about. So this will be one storage unit and that will be the other one. The only thing that you really have to pay attention to is these 2 little guys. So the top parts of the chest, or however you want to call it, storage units. I'm going to keep calling it storage units. See, when you look at it, there's a little indent right there in that corner. And because we have to keep the pattern, because there's a line on this side and there's nothing on the other side, we have to keep it on the outside, so facing outside and not the middle of the actual storage unit. We have to make sure we have the piece that matches on the other side, as you can see. So when it's turned like that, the 2 indents are facing the same direction and the patterns are also facing outwards. And then we simply go ahead and start popping the pieces in. As you can see, pattern on this side, so we need to make sure it stays on the outside. So pop that straight on at one of the ends on this plain longer piece. Do exactly the same on the other side. See that, how I just turned it? Because I'm like, ooh, pattern. So keep it on the outside. And then when we go on these pieces, only one of these has pattern. So make sure that stays on the outside. I just realized I tried to put it in the wrong way there. I'm like, there is no holes, it is not going in. So just be very gentle. Alright, let's see. Okay, these are going in actually really quite hard. Not easy at all. Seems a bit too tight for my liking, maybe. They're only storage units, why are they so tight? Right, let's see. Yeah, that is incredibly tight, to be honest. And then the other side, that literally doesn't matter which way it goes on because there's no pattern. Very nice and sturdy-ish feeling pieces though, which is really good, to be honest. There we go. That looks really quite nice. Nice wee neat box, isn't it? And then when we come onto this piece, you need to pay attention to where these guys are going. And as you can see, we've got a line on one side. So that stays on the outside. And again, see the legs? They are slightly different. One is right at the bottom and one is a little bit higher. So they are different. So when you attach it onto here, make sure you use this leg and not the one that is flush with it. There we go, so you literally just pop it in like that. Be gentle with that bendy piece because I have cracked enough already. Right, there we go. So that's one in, and then what's going to happen is we're literally going to bend it over. Be gentle, very gentle. So I'm only trying to push onto this middle part. I don't want to try and push onto anything else because they are very quite fragile. And then just keep bending it. Nice and slow. There we go. So one nearly in. And the other end. Oh, hey. Come on. Push in. Right. So this could go in deeper because it would have to be flush, but it's actually not that hard. Hey, sorry, not that easy. So I'm kind of using my nail to kind of try and push in so I don't push on anything too much with my fat sausage fingers because I might break something. So this end is not too bad. This end is sticking out a little bit, so we need to keep trying to push it in. Okay, that's a little bit better. There we go, just like that. As you can see, there's like a millimeter sticking out. I don't think it's going to make any difference, but I think I've had enough of pushing. I do not want to break it. Right, and now when we go onto this piece right here, so the holes, make sure the screw holes stay at the back, basically onto the right hand side, I'm going to say, and then this indent part is staying on the other side. So literally just like that. Let's see. So that pushes in straight on the top. Careful. Yep. And the other one, again, pattern on the outside and the indent on the same side as this piece. And just gently push in the middle. Gentle. There we go. See that? Pattern on one side and pattern on the other side. Absolutely awesome. And then this will literally go on like this. Oh, that was sticking out a little bit, that corner. There we go. So again, make sure the pattern stays on this side, obviously, because if you turn it like this, you're not going to be able to attach your metal pieces anyways, your brackets, sorry, there you go, because we got holes on the other side right here. So that's what we got to do next. And to be honest, not that you have to do it right now. We could assemble the other storage unit, but I'm gonna just show you basically the size of these because it is incredibly tiny. The screws, that's what I'm really talking about. The brackets are tiny, yes, but it's the screws. They are incredibly tiny. Look at these, look at that. That is extremely tiny. And this is how the bracket's gonna go on. So the screw is going on the side, there we go. So the flat side is facing the chest, basically, it's as simple as that. So I might have to try and do this first. So I'm gonna lift the lid off. Screw it into the lid first because that'll be easier. I'm not gonna try and hold the whole thing as one piece. And just gently screw it in. Do not over tighten. There you go. So once this stops moving, I would stop screwing it basically. And there we go. So what I need to do now is pop another 3 screws here all together and another bracket on this side. And there we go. Look at this. That looks so cool, nice and shiny. And the one thing I noticed was that one screw was actually loose, so we basically went straight in and there's nowhere to tighten it basically, but all the rest of them are very nice and tight. And when you open it, which is really cool, it just stays into place. So that is absolutely awesome. And you didn't have to, well, I didn't have to put the brackets in just yet. You'd only have to do it once you've assembled both of the storage units, but I just wanted to show you basically how it should look like. And now I'm gonna go and do exactly the same thing again, and I just noticed these two things were quite squint, so I just easily straighten them out. So yeah, let me go and build another one of these. And here we go. Both of them have been completed and that looks really quite cool, doesn't it? There is a little bit to come at the front yet to make it look even more attractive. So this is our next step. So when we look at these guys right here, we do have a pattern, so make sure that is facing outwards again. So when it goes on the chest, obviously there's another piece to come, but it's going to go on like this basically, pointing downwards. So this is the piece that I'm talking about. There we go. So this is how you hold it, and then this goes straight on here, just like that. See that? And then it will literally click on the actual storage unit. Wiggle it in, be gentle. There we go, just like that. And yeah, that will make you look so much nicer. You can turn it just slightly if it's squint. And we just need to do exactly the same thing 3 more times. And there we go. Look at these little beauties. They look so nice. That is so cool. Right. We've only got basically 1, 2, 3 steps left, but there's only these pieces that are left. So the steps what I'm talking about are, we need to put these together, attach it to these storage units, and then attach those to the bike. And that is it. Completed. So, very nice and straightforward. We need to make sure that these ends are facing the other way. There we go. So it's going on like that. So we've got pointy ends here, they face to the left, and these pointy ends will face to the right, and it goes on literally right on the side. There we go. Trying to pop it on now. Let's see. So it's actually it's going to be a bit tough. I'm going to show you why in just a second. Might have to use a tool, to be honest, to help you push it in, because I don't want to push on the sides because then it will probably break. Yeah, see, that was nice. So this is how they go on. See, it goes right to the edge basically, and and exactly the same on the other side. Right here, so I'm going to push in just slightly with my finger, and then I'm going to use a tool. See? Yup. This is what I'm talking about. As you can see, I have actually managed to break my piece, which is not so good obviously, but as I've said in my part 1, it's all about preparation, and I do have super glue to basically glue it back into place. So what I'm going to do is clean it up just slightly if I need to, and just glue it back on. So while that piece is drying, I'm going to move on to the next piece. Well, and I can tell you that was quite unfortunate, and yeah, gonna have to be super careful here. So we do need to use the tool because I find it much easier, but I'm just gonna have to try and make sure nothing kind of bends away from my fingers, because that's what happened. It kind of slid off, and that was it. See if I break this piece as well, because the thing is, there is no spare piece for this longer piece, which is again quite unfortunate, because there's a lot of spare pieces for a lot of things here apart from this. Sadly. So first piece is in, obviously just like on the previous one, that was nice and easy-ish, but second one not so much. So the other thing I wanted to tell you is, by the way, is see when you look at the inside of there, you can kind of see there's teeth. So that's what locks it into place, you see, and that's why it's so difficult to put it into place in the first place. There was a lot of places in those couple of sentences, eh? Right, nice and easy now, let's see. Come on, gentle pushing. Oh my god, see that? It keeps sliding off. It's like I keep getting mini heart attacks. I'm going to use my nail instead. Oh yeah, okay, maybe use your nail instead, because that tool, see how I mentioned it before, it just slid off, hence my fingers went all mental and it broke it. Anyways, so this is how it's supposed to look like, unlike the glued one. And then we go to the back of the chest, and these pieces, these ends right here, will click into the chest, but we got to pay attention how it's going in. So this is how it's going in. See how those things are coming from the bottom up, so that's how they're staying in. And we pop one end in, pop the other end in, that went in really nice and easy. And then we go to the bike, and we got 2 holes here on the mudguard, and we simply just try and wiggle it in. Nice and gentle. Unlike me. There we go. There we go, look at that. So at least, because I'm gluing the back of it, like that piece right there, I'm not really going to be able to see anything, you see. So that looks really quite nice. So what I've got to do now is literally just wait till my piece is glued into the place quite nice and hard, and if it doesn't work out, because I still have to force it basically in here, and it might break, you see, and the same could happen once it goes on the other side of the bike. But once it goes on the other side of the bike, it should hold in place. I'm just worried it might break again when I put it in here, and if that's the case, I'm gonna pop it on the bike first and then glue it again. Okay, so the glue had dried on the other piece, and I can tell you that it's all into place. Yes, I know it sounded like, oh no, what's happened here? And there we go, look at that, that looks absolutely awesome. So when you look at it from the top, you can kind of see a small line, but nothing major, and it's all holding into place really nice, which is absolutely awesome. And now, since it's all completed, which I'm quite chuffed about, I really hope you've enjoyed all these videos, guys, and I hope you made it this far as well without breaking any piece, unlike myself. But we're only human, you know, things happen, and you kind of get very excited towards completing an actual model, and you kind of start to not hurry up, but you work a little bit faster, and that's where I went wrong. So you just have to chill the whole time. And all I'm going to do now is, because you know I have not tested it, Oh my god. See, too exciting. All I've got to do is now go and test it, and we're going to see if it actually works. See if it doesn't. Oh, there's going to be trouble. No, I'm only joking. Let's go and test it out. So we've got our bike. We're going to put our support up. So away. We're going to pop this down. So make sure it's like this. And then we have to turn the key 6 to 7 times so we can use our tool. So we pop it in like this. So that's like one full turn basically. Oh, wow, okay. As you can see, my tool broke, so I'm gonna grab something else. So I'm gonna use my little wee pliers instead. Okay. I've got sausage fingers, so I'm not gonna chance that, you see. Yeah, there you go, that is way easier. I can't believe my tool just snapped straight away. So I think that's around 4 turns maybe. So I'm just gonna go till I can feel a lot more resistance. That is fully rotated. So I'm gonna pop the wheel down first, pop the front up, and let go. Oh god, oh that picked up a really good speed. Oh my goodness! See that? And the cylinders bouncing up and down. Oh god, yeah. So that's all I had to do was literally turn this all the way till it can no longer turn, and then pop the wheel down, pop this up, and let go. It actually picks up really good speed. That is absolutely incredible. And I am so glad that it actually works, because it would have been incredibly silly if it didn't actually work, but I was confident enough, and yes, it works. And yeah, my mirror popped out, but that's easy to be popped in. There you go, back in place. And yeah, absolutely delighted. What a brilliant model. And I so hope you've enjoyed all these step-by-step videos, guys, and I hope you managed to make it work as well and didn't break as many pieces as I did. But at least it all works. And make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure you check out Rokr/Robotime website and use my promo code Martins15 to save 15%. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.